Is it possible to stress your body out while you're trying to do good for it? Find out on this next podcast of Digest This.
Welcome to Digest This, the show that helps you revolutionize your digestive health. Here are your hosts, Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato.
Hello, and welcome to Digest This. I'm Dr. Liz Cruz, and I've got Tina Nunziato sitting right here by my side. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are a first-time listener, welcome, and we hope that you will enjoy this journey. And we want to let you know that we have hundreds of other podcasts in our podcast library. On this particular journey that we just started now at the beginning of 2021, we've already recorded about 3 previous podcasts that are in regards to this topic. So you may want to go back and listen to those so that you can be on track with us, okay? And if you're a regular listener, we love you and we welcome you again. And we love that you're so loyal to this podcast. That means everything to us. So thank you so much. So as we're continuing this journey, so is it possible to stress your body out in the midst of trying to actually do good for it? What's the answer to that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so this is pretty much where I found myself in my journey when I started to do lymphatic treatment. I was doing lymphatics at least 2-3 times a week with colonics. I also started doing ozone sauna, which we will talk about that at some point in the podcast. I changed my diet up a lot. And so I want to just kind of focus on the diet part of it. But I will talk about how trying to do all these things just basically like stressed me out so much for several reasons. But I changed my diet very drastically. About a year before, I had already been trying to eliminate sweets, and I was just like, I made a goal, and it was, I basically did not take any sweets in on weekdays from Monday through Friday, and then I would treat myself on the weekends, and I would allow myself to have a sweet treat or maybe 2. And then, so I was already doing that, and I had kind of already started working on eliminating my carbs, not completely, but I was, I was eating a lot of rice and pasta, and so I had already started cutting back on that. But when I went for my colonics, my colon hydrotherapist, who also does a lot with diet, said, you've got to cut the carbs out. I mean, the carbs will cause a lot of inflammation because the carbohydrates basically will break down into sugars, and sugar causes inflammation everywhere throughout your body. So she really urged me to just really cut the carbs out completely. Now it was impossible for me to cut them out completely, and I didn't want to cut them out completely because you do need carbs, some carbs in your diet.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of cutting one specific food group out for people for long periods of time. I mean, obviously, if you have a goal and you're trying to reach that goal and you want to cut carbs for a while, that's fine. But you do have to eat some carbs because it's also the carbs that give you energy.
Exactly. And I completely agree. Like I've never been a fan either of these diets that just focus on just protein, or that basically have you eliminate everything except one of the food group types. And so I did make an effort. I mean, one of the biggest things for me was the rice, okay? And maybe I've said this before, maybe I haven't, but I mean, coming with my Puerto Rican roots, I mean, every day was rice and beans. I mean, that was a staple in our household. And so, it's not only tradition, but I think that there's probably a lot of emotional feelings attached to that. Very, brings me warmth and security and fluffy feelings in my heart and body.
I've done plenty of consults with Latinas and Latinos, and when I tell them to try to cut the carbs, they look at me like I have 4 eyeballs.
Yeah,
so yeah,
absolutely.
It's a mainstay.
And I'm sure the same thing with any type of culture. Every culture. The pasta. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I always tell my kids, a day without rice is a day without sunshine. And it turns out that actually isn't true, because I was able to cut out the rice and the pasta, and it turns out that there was still sunshine. So I did a major cleaning up of my diet. And here's the thing. It's not like I was eating poorly to begin with. I didn't think I was eating poorly. Tina is an excellent cook, and she was using, she does use a lot of jasmine rice, which is one of your cleaner white rices. She cooks brown rice. Our pastas, she does a lot with the different types of pastas, like quinoa pasta, which is healthier than white flour pasta. And so, and already we were eating a lot of greens. But I felt that I was going to really do a major cleanup. And here's the other thing that I'm going to admit to. At the surgical centers, there is usually a little lunch room, okay, a little lunch lounge. And at one of the surgical centers where I go to, they have like a whole like cabinet section full of these amazing snacks. So
Costco snacks.
Exactly. Cheez-Its, trail mix that has, M&Ms, goldfish, cookies, those little crackers that has a little cheese, with a little red stick. You could put it on there. You name it. They actually are very good about taking care of their staff, with snacks.
With great snacks.
Yeah, with snacks. And so I was helping myself every time I was there, and I go there like 2 or 3 times a week, and I was helping myself to Cheez-Its and trail mix, and I was like, I'm working really hard. I'm running back and forth. I'm doing procedures. I need to treat myself with some Cheez-Its and some little goldfish. And so I was doing a lot of snacking, and probably not eating the cleanest when I sat down to really think about it. So I cleaned all that up. I no longer indulge in those snacks, but I eliminated the rice, eliminated the pastas. Tina has been amazing through all of this, and always makes sure that I have some green vegetable and some form of protein. I do eat quinoa. I will eat quinoa, which does have carbs in it, and I eat a lot of beans. We eat a lot of beans. And we were already eating a lot of greens.
Yeah, I already make a green. I think the thing that I did different for you was, when we eat pasta, the quinoa pasta, I'll make zucchini pasta for you. So that's an example of making sure you always had, if we were eating a carb, what is your carb, right? When we would do rice and beans, you would just do the beans with the salad and whatever green and the protein, right? Yeah. So there's always a green with a salad and a protein that you could eat. Always making sure you had 2 greens
absolutely
on your plate.
Yeah, and then I would just make sure that I would take snacks, celery sticks with almond butter or cashew butter, or organic peanut butter that Tina gets, cucumber circles, sliced circles with hummus, and so I really cleaned up my diet very quickly, and it was somewhat of a mental transition for me to not put the beans on the rice. That just felt really weird, having a little bowl of beans with my the green vegetable and the salad. That did take that did take some mental working out. So, but I was able to do it.
And you actually got to the point where you didn't crave it
yeah,
anymore.
Yeah, that's the funny thing was that I wasn't.
You didn't desire it.
I thought I was actually going to crave it terribly, and I didn't. I didn't crave it terribly. You know, I was just so focused on trying to eat healthy and clean up my diet. So the other thing that I started doing was I decided that I needed to start juicing so that I could actually be drinking like pure juice that's been, you know, juiced. Now, keep in mind, we already do a green smoothie every morning in our Vitamixer. Okay, so we're not juicing, but we're mixing it in the Vitamixer. I put celery, spinach, cucumbers, a little protein powder in there, and almond milk is the liquid base. And for me specifically, I always toss in, after I've poured off for the rest of the family, I always throw in an entire avocado, and mix it up. And so it makes for a thick smoothie, but we've been doing that for years. And so I was already doing that, but because of what was going on with me, I was convinced that I needed the pure juicing. So after I tried to convince Tina that we needed to buy a juicer, and she tried to convince me that there was no way that I was going to have the time to juice and to clean up the juicer and do all this with everything that I already have going on in the morning to get ready to go to work. Because it's not like I started taking time off work. I mean, I was still working a full schedule. And so after a lot of discussion, when she convinced me that it just like she felt that I was just going to stress myself out more, I decided then to go and buy my own juice at Nectar. And so I started going every morning and buying a tall thing of one of their green juices and drinking it. And I just felt, okay, this is awesome. This is great. I'm going to get the green juice. I'm already doing a green smoothie, you know, and trying to clean up my diet. So I started doing all that. And then we ended up meeting with a naturopath and naturopathic doctor who also does a lot with diet. And she immediately, when I was telling her everything I was doing, she was like, you got to stop going to get your juice at Nectar. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, it's the purest of juices. She goes, yeah. She goes, the problem is that unfortunately, they don't use organic produce, which means that you're probably now loading yourself up with pesticides.
You just can't win.
I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I actually called Nectar.
I would just like to confirm.
I just had to know for sure. And sure enough, and the girl on the phone even it was like kind of apologetic. She's like, I'm really sorry, but yeah, these are not organic vegetables. And so I was very disappointed, but immediately stopped doing that and immediately started looking for other places that I could buy green juice. Couldn't find anything but like downtown Phoenix, which, you know, were there for sure. There was no way I was going to be able to do that. So, you know, I just did with what we had and felt that, you know, and just focused.
Well, and it was probably a good thing to go back to your topic of you stressing out.
Yeah.
Because you were doing so much that you were getting overwhelmed. And
I
you
was
were really stressed out. And I basically told you, like, you're defeating the whole purpose of getting better.
That's exactly right. And so that's why, you know, so at that time, I was doing the juicing. So I'd take my son to school, immediately order on the app the green juice, go stop by, and then drive to the surgical center. And I was stressed out because I was trying to figure out how I was going to squeeze everything in. I was doing the lymphatic. I was doing the ozone sauna, doing all of those things at least 2-3 times a week, doing colonics. And so trying to still work my full schedule and squeeze in all of these other things was starting to become really stressful. Like I was becoming anxious. And you know, when Tina and I met with that naturopathic doctor, she was like, you're going to stress your body out even more and do more harm. and Tina had already been telling me that, so I had to like really have a come to Jesus with myself and be like, you know what? It's true. Like, I'm feeling the stress. So here I'm trying to do all these good things for myself to try to help myself. And while I'm getting more and more stressed out. So I had to step back a few steps, and I had to cut out some stuff. I cut out the green juice and just continue doing our green smoothies, which we've been doing. I cut out the ozone sauna, and I think I even might have cut back on the lymphatics.
That was when you started going to once a week.
Once a week. Yeah. And it's crazy how I just had this relief. Mm-hmm. I had a huge relief. It was like there was such a huge burden sitting on me that I had put on myself. So is it possible to stress your body out while you're trying to do something good for it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I was doing to myself.
And if you find yourself in that situation where you're trying to do good for yourself, but you're trying to do too much all at one time, we always tell people, baby steps. Pick the thing that you think is the most important, focus on that for a little while, get really great at that, then move to the next thing. Don't try to do more than 2 or 3 things at a time. It's very hard. And every day is a new day. So just start fresh and, just pick one thing and just do it well.
That's right. Amen to that. And I couldn't say it any better. And so on that note, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye until our next podcast. Thank you again for joining us, and we will catch you on the next podcast.
Thank you for joining Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato. To learn more about their revolutionary products and services, go online to www.drlizcruz.com.